let's talk a little bit about you. I'm interested in learning a little bit more about you and your journey towards Islam. Uh, Maybe if you can, I always find that there's these moments of truth that basically these moments that change your life and say, you know what, this is okay, this is the truth, I gotta accept it, kind of thing. One or two moments there. So I don't know if you had such a critical moment in your life, but it would be good to know a little bit about your journey towards Islam.
Um, there were two elements that actually opened the door to Islam for me. First of all, as a Greek, it was always difficult to be busy with the issue of Islam, because for Greeks, because of Greece being once part of the Ottoman Empire, and what we learn nowadays at school, the Greek schools, they teach us some crazy stuff about these Turks, as they call them, being so terrible towards us and having raped our women and killed our children and taking them all to the pashas and taking them to the Sultan in Istanbul, and all these crazy stories and legends and myths and lies, actually, that they're telling us about the Ottoman Empire. So that influenced me heavily as a Greek. Okay, I was going to Greek school, the Greek primary school of 4 years actually in Germany, although I grew up in Germany, but I went to Greek school, 4 years, primary school. And that had an influence on me at the beginning. I was initially very anti Islamic and anti Turkish. So, although I grew up in Germany, and the majority of friends that I had, I mean, there are millions of Turks in Germany, the majority of my friends were actually Turks. But the Turks of nowadays are not the Turks of that time. The Turks of nowadays, many of them are very secular minded. Many of them do not follow the deen. Many of them actually, you can consider them not Muslims in many ways. So I just had friends, okay, Turkish, Arabic friends, some friends from all over the world. I always liked being international. And I actually barely had, if you ask me now, any German friends. I can not point to anyone. I mean, I barely had any German friends. I always saw myself belonging to the southern part of the world, and I always had friends from the southern hemisphere. Um, so that influenced me as well. I had African friends who were Muslim, but the hip hop Muslim type, right? So going out together, have fun, all this stuff, was there. But there was once a time when I thought, okay, as I said again, history influenced me. The way that history was taught to us Greeks at the Greek school about the Ottomans, there was something that was there. But I was always very keen and interested on history. I always wanted to know more about history in general. And somehow I came across these Lebanese brothers who grew up in Germany. Two brothers, two. The one was my age at the time, 14, 15, and the other one was 18. So they were sent over that time from the Lebanese to flee this Lebanese civil war, but also they had finished their German school they were going to a German school in Beirut, in Lebanon, and their father had decided when they closed the school because of the civil war, he decided to send them over to Germany. So they happened to be in my hometown, and I met especially the younger one who was going with me to the same school, and we became very close, very good friends actually. And he invited me over to his place once, and then we started talking about, because he did have friends in Greece and he loved Greece because very close to the Lebanon he knew, and many of his friends were in Lebanon. And then once we spoke about them being Muslims, and I was at their place, and I remember the older one called the younger one upstairs to go and make salah. I was like, what? I'm gonna pray, just give me 5 minutes, I'll be back. I said, pray? What do you mean pray? He said, we're Muslims, so we pray 5 times a day. I was like, what? And I thought you were good guys. That's exactly what I said. I will never forget that. That's how it came out of my mouth without thinking. Okay? And I felt embarrassed the same moment I was saying that. I was like, what are you saying there? Why are you saying I thought you were good guys? So that element, that made me really think, what are you saying there? You know these people for weeks, now months. You found out they're Muslims, and suddenly that all changes. Suddenly they become bad people. So that in itself, as I said, I was a teenager, 14, 15 years old. That made me think and go back to the books and start through them and with them my journey actually to Islamic history, first of all. And I wanted to find out, what did the Ottomans really do in the Middle East and in Greece and the Balkan Peninsula? What about the Middle East itself? the countries that exist there, Israel, the whole issue with Palestine, a little bit political, a little bit cultural, a little bit historical. So I went through all these elements for years, no joke. I mean, it was really something. It was a journey of years until one day I said, listen, I want to go and visit the mosque. We had a masjid in that city, and I decided to go to that mosque on a Friday. It was a Jummah prayer. And me not knowing anything about it, I mean, not knowing the Fatiha and anything, nothing, I just decided to join them on my own. I did not go with my friend. I did it myself. And I did this up and down. And I was like, there is something. And I had this feeling. If you ask me about a moment where it's where I really where it hit me, that was the moment. I was in this prayer. I was in for Jumu'ah. I was in the masjid, and suddenly I felt when I was making ruku and I made sujood, I felt there is something. This Islam thing is more than just up and down training sessions. There is more than just these Arabs being Muslims or whatever. And that's what hit me then religiously. And then I started looking into Islam as a faith. Before it was all historical, it was all political, it was what's going on, current affairs. But now it started hitting me. I wanted to learn the Surah Al-Fatiha. I started learning Arabic. So that was the element, the moment when I said yes. So there was the logical, rational moment, but there was also the theological moment, the moment where the heart said there is something here. And it took me another 3 years after that, by the way, to say the Shahada, because it was not easy convincing my parents, which, by the way, 30 years later, still have not convinced that I'm not a Turk. So, so these are the things that the challenges that we face basically as new Muslims, especially if you're Greek, if you have this kind of background.
That's true. Jazakallah khair. It's a very interesting story for sure. All right, let's get back into this a little bit. Maybe talk.